Worse than cancer, coronary artery disease, and diabetes combined.
We're going to talk about the autoimmune epidemic. Hi, this is Dr. Salt with Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness using functional medicine.
And I'm Elizabeth. I am a registered nurse and the wellness coach here at Just Be Well.
Autoimmune disease affects more people than cancer, coronary artery disease, and diabetes combined.
Yet it gets less money for studies than any single one of these.
Yeah, less money because it's not sexy, right? People aren't just falling over dead, and it's not quite as terrorizing. So it gets put on the back burner. That's just terrible. You know, people think that autoimmune disease is somehow just out of their control and that it's some external force that's just attacking them and there's nothing they can do about it.
Or worse, it's their fault or it's something that they did, where it's more of a perfect storm.
As was just stated, it's part of the perfect storm. You know, it's really about your unique genetic makeup and how it is related to your diet, lifestyle, and the environment. If you think about diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or
lupus, fibromyalgia,
ankylosing spondylitis, autoinflammatory disease,
depression,
diabetes, any of those. Just an example. There's a disease that's been pretty well worked out called ankylosing spondylitis. This is a kind of arthritis of the spine. And people who have ankylosing spondylitis generally carry the gene HLA-B27. So HLA-B27 is the name of this gene. Nearly everyone with ankylosing spondylitis has HLA-B27, but not everyone with HLA-B27 has ankylosing spondylitis. It's the same thing for a specific gut bacteria, a specific strain of Klebsiella. Almost everyone with ankylosing spondylitis has Klebsiella. Not everyone with Klebsiella has ankylosing spondylitis. Now, when you combine those two, somebody with the genetic predisposition of HLA-B27 and the Klebsiella gene, they're at much higher risk of getting ankylosing spondylitis. And if you combine those two things plus an injury to your gut, some kind of injury, whether it's a gastroenteritis or something that causes a leakiness of the gut, so you get these inappropriate immune interactions in your gut between the HLA-B27, the immune system, and the Klebsiella, that's the person that gets ankylosing spondylitis. And this process is called molecular mimicry. There's something on the Klebsiella that looks enough like HLA-B27 that the antibody to kill the Klebsiella accidentally cross-reacts and causes the autoimmunity. So this process of molecular mimicry is what causes autoimmunity. So we've talked about the autoimmune epidemic, and before we get to kind of the solution to this epidemic, I just want to tell you that we've got some great stuff at the end of the video in terms of diet resources and real ways to get underneath the actual cause of autoimmune. Our goal in functional medicine and what we do here at Just Be Well is to uncover these unique relationships between your genetic makeup and your diet and your lifestyle and the environment. So how do we do that?
We start first with a timeline. So when was the last time you felt well? What happened around that time that caused the onset of your decline? And then next, we go into the matrix.
So the matrix is a tool we use. So, you know, there's sort of the difference between something that's complex and something that displays complexity. Complex means that it's complicated, but by understanding the starting positions, you can understand the endpoint. Whereas a human body, there are so many variables that it's what we call complexity. It displays complexity, which means that just because you know the beginning doesn't mean you understand the end. So this matrix, we think about, you know, is digestion absorption working well? Are the mitochondria, the place where you convert your food into energy, is it working well? Is detoxification working well? Is transport working well? Are hormones working well? So we go all the way around and we look for these imbalances, and we look for something called ATMs, antecedents, triggers, and mediators. And so the antecedent to her cough was a tickle in her throat. The antecedent to her cough was a tickle in her throat. And it's the same thing in disease. There's an antecedent, and it's usually something about your genetic makeup, some uniqueness. You know, it's some SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism, or copy number variants, or it's an epigenetic phenomenon. It's something unique about you fundamentally. And it may be an injury or a trauma or something. And then there's a triggering event. That trigger is what sets everything in motion. And then mediators are the things that keep the disease in motion. In functional medicine, we generally say, unless there is a compelling reason to do otherwise, start with the gut. And that's especially true with autoimmune disease because the gut is the interface between the outside world, your immune system, your nervous system, the endocrine system, all these different places, all these different systems are just interfaced right there. And so we start with something called the VOUR program. So the VOUR program, it's a way of addressing diet and lifestyle.
Normalizing your digestion and your absorption, normalizing your gut bacteria. It promotes balance to detox, promotes the healing of the gut, rebalancing your lifestyle, all through, removing
the bad stuff, removing the bad stuff,
replacing it with good stuff.
Yeah. It reminds me of a Snapple commercial. We're looking for the good stuff, all the good stuff. We're only made of good stuff, and they're running around the world. But, removing the bad stuff. And what is bad stuff? Well, bad stuff might be bad bacteria in your gut, like that Klebsiella we talked about earlier, or Pseudomonas, or some nasty bug. It might just be a lack of good bacteria. But nonetheless, we're removing the bad stuff. We're replacing with good stuff. In this case, replace means digestive function. So acid if you need acid. Bile if you need bile, vitamins and minerals to help with digestion, that's under inoculation, which is the next step. So prebiotics and probiotics as reinoculate. So we've got remove, replace, reinoculate. And by the way, there's only two things that have been shown to truly change your gut bacteria. One is changing your diet. And the other is fecal transplantation, literally taking somebody else's feces and putting them up your backside.
I think I'll change my diet.
Yeah, I think I'll change my diet. And so dietary change, and that includes supplements that you might take. So you can take prebiotics, which are basically fertilizers for healthy bacteria. And then we talked about repair. So we've got remove, replace, reinoculate, repair. We're trying to repair the gut lining so you do not have these abnormal, inappropriate interactions between your immune system and the stuff in the lumen of your gut. So we want to resequester your immune system back inside your body instead of letting it leak out into the lumen of your gut. Because remember, we're like donuts. The whole of the donut starts here, ends at the other end, and it's not really inside our body, right? Mm-hmm. And so we want to put the immune system back inside our body. We want to keep the undigested food and bacteria outside of our body, and never the twain shall meet. Mm-hmm. And then rebalance. Rebalance just means perpetuating these changes because it's your diet and lifestyle that cause this problem. And toxicity from the environment and toxicity from your thoughts and whatever else. Mm-hmm. So rebalancing. One of the very, very best ways to start this process is with a diet called the Renew diet. And at the end of this video, you're going to be able to download a version of the Renew diet and get started if you'd like to. Now, if you have special medical needs, like you're a diabetic or you're on you're a phenylketouric or something like that, obviously you don't just start some diet willy-nilly. But if you're otherwise healthy and they have no dietary restrictions, this is a really great place to start.
It's a whole foods diet.
It's a whole food diet. And I like to say a diet that eats things that, includes things that were alive recently and would be recognized as food from somebody before the Industrial Revolution, you're on a good diet. Mm-hmm. We can argue about whether it should be paleo or low glycemic index or vegan or vegetarian or, any 10,000 other diets. But the Renew diet is a very good anti-inflammatory, immune-soothing diet.
I think it's a great reset diet. I feel like you're on it for 4 to 6 weeks. It's a great way to just reset your system and see where you're at after that time period.
Absolutely. Reset the system, see where you're at, and then proceed with caution from there, because you don't want to go backwards to the diet you used to be on. So if you like this kind of content, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you get notifications. Also, look in the comments, because there's a link there that will take you to our community, and you'll get invitations to free webinars and things, question and answer kind of stuff. So please do that. And thanks a lot for listening. This is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness.
Bye.